We think about these tough Hollywood lines that make nuclear war seem like the subject of an international thriller, where gritty men with smoldering cigars hanging out of their mouths, they hold the fate of the world in the balance. Also, oh no. So in this presentation, we're going to look at the origins of the Manhattan Project, the project that birthed the atomic bomb. We'll look at how these weapons of such incredible power loom so large that every single president since 1945 has made reference to them in public speeches, with President John F. Kennedy giving a chilling address to the United Nations in 1961, where, to paraphrase from parts of his speech, he said, "Today, every inhabitant of this planet must contemplate the day when this planet may no longer be habitable. These weapons of war must be abolished before they abolish us. The mere existence of modern weapons, 10 million times more powerful than any the world has ever seen, is a source of horror and discord and distrust," is what Kennedy told the United Nations. But John F. Kennedy's views that we need to get rid of nuclear weapons because they're a source of horror and distrust is very different from President Roosevelt's view back in 1939, when the president authorized a committee of scientists to study the feasibility of building a possible atomic superweapon. And before we get to explore all of that, let me take us back to one day in August 1945. Let's put us in the right mindset, in the right context of the time. And to do that, I need to tell you a story. Because tail gunner Bob Karen had been counting. 7, 8, 9. Soaring 26,000 feet above Japan, Karen was crammed into a shoulder-wide compartment, operating a .50 caliber machine gun perched at the rear of the B-29 Super Fortress bomber he was in. The 26-year-old was solely responsible for defending the aircraft from enemy fighters looking to knock them out of the sky. Now, on any other mission, Karen would have some help. Usually, the B-29 was equipped with 10 heavy machine guns piercing through the fuselage at strategic points to give a nearly 360-degree area of defensive coverage against any airborne attackers. But on that morning, 8 of the 10 guns had been stripped off the plane in order to save weight to accommodate the enormous bomb they were carrying. He kept counting. 21, 22, 23. Now, the B-29 was an aircraft well suited to this particular mission. In 1945, it was on the cutting edge of military technology, a marvel of aeronautical engineering. It was equipped with the latest technologies. At its full defensive complement, 5 General Electric analog computers aboard the aircraft helped to aim those machine guns remotely. And as Popular Mechanics magazine reported at the time, it was because of these things they called electronic brains, these early computers. Because of them, a lone B-29 was recently able to win a 4-hour-long aerial battle against 79 Japanese fighter planes. But none of that was any comfort to Bob Karen, because he was the lone remaining machine gun pointed to the rear of the aircraft. If they did encounter Japanese defenders on this mission, they would almost certainly be shot down. He kept counting. 27, 28, 29. The B-29 bomber engines roared and vibrations pulsed through the aircraft's polished aluminum body. And Karen had started his count on the moment they reached their target. And he knew when to start counting, right when the bomb was released. Because despite being confined to his claustrophobic gunner's compartment at the back of the plane, he knew when the bomb fell, because freed of its 9,700-pound load, that B-29 shot upward like a spring had been released. 36, 37, 38. First Officer Colonel Paul Tibbets kept a tight grip on the controls, and he executed an evasive maneuver that was designed to get the aircraft as far away as fast as possible. No one, not even the physicists responsible for creating the world's first atomic bomb, knew entirely how big the blast would be, nor what the force of its shockwave might do if it caught up to and hit this specially modified plane. 40, 41, 42. Suddenly, a brilliant white light filled the sky. And when the eye-stabbing flash seared through the dark goggles intended to shield him, Karen thought he'd been blinded. But when the brightness slowly receded, and he pulled out his video recorder to take the first video of the first atomic bomb, he witnessed what they had done. In a split second, the city of Hiroshima had been decimated. Co-pilot Robert Lewis, after looking back and watching this entire city disappear in an instant, is reported to have said, "Oh my God, what have we done?" The crew members aboard the Enola Gay, a plane named after the pilot's mother, were the first people in the world to witness a city destroyed by an atomic bomb. They were there at the inception of the atomic age, this moment of an inflection point in history. But this story, this true story of the tail gunner of the plane that dropped the first atomic bomb on August 6, 1945, this story of how we got here actually begins way back in 1895. There was, to begin our story and look at the development of the atomic bombs, this all began when a German engineer named Wilhelm Röntgen discovered a new type of ray that he was studying, which, because he didn't know what these rays were called, he called them by the mathematical variable for the unknown. He called them an X-ray. And what he specifically discovered was that these rays could go through, to put it simply, other elements, but leave an image behind. And so he promptly used these rays to take an image of his wife's hand, creating the first X-ray to see bones under your skin. And this sparked a whole revolution of scientific discovery. The following year, another scientist in Paris announced that he had discovered that a relatively new element called uranium gave off immense radioactivity, except they didn't have the word radioactivity yet, just that this energy, or this element, gave off so much energy that it radiated that energy just by existing. And I want to focus on this just for a minute to get us in the right mind space to see why uranium is so special. We'll do a bit of science here. Basically, everything has some form of energy density, right? Wood has 16 megajoules of energy density, right? You know this. You combust wood and it releases its energy in the form of fire, light, and heat. So wood has 16 megajoules. Glass, window glass, which you know is not very combustible, has 0.035 megajoules. Coal, 24 megajoules. Gasoline, 46 megajoules. We can harness that energy density to power our cars. But to put this all in perspective, gasoline, which is probably the most common combustible material that we use, compared to uranium, which has 3.9 million megajoules of energy density, 46 for gasoline. So uranium is so powerful that unlike wood, which you have to combust before it releases its energy, uranium releases that energy just sitting there. And it was a woman named Marie Curie who in 1896 actually coined the term radioactivity to describe what was happening here, this energy that was being radiated out.